What's going on, everyone? I'm track announcer Matt Dinerman here in the Oaklawn Today studios. Out of the starting gate, big week for us. Arkansas Derby week, the Racing Festival of the South. Not only a lot of good racing, including the 90th running of the Arkansas Derby, but just a celebration around town, a celebration of racing, community, our local community here in Hot Springs. We're going to get folks from not just Hot Springs, not just Arkansas, but Oklahoma, Texas, West Coast, East Coast. They're all going to pile in here for Arkansas Derby Week 2026. Now, I'm joined today by a very special guest, an alumni of the show. He was on last year, Richard Migliore, retired rider, now an analyst for America's Day at the Races, Saratoga Live. Richie, how are you this morning?
I'm doing well. It's a great day, a great week of racing, I should say, that we're getting ready for. A lot of excitement, and the town really amps up. Much like Saratoga around the Travers, you feel that atmosphere build.
Well, you've ridden all over the world. I mean, not just around the country, but around the world. How does Arkansas Derby Day compare to some of the big events around the country and around the world that you've been into?
Well, I think Arkansas Derby Day stacks up very well with major events all over the country when it comes to horse racing and all over the world. Again, the enthusiasm of the crowd here in Arkansas and the people that come out in droves to enjoy this, they get caught up in it. And I love the conversations you hear, the conversations people will draw you into. And for the horses, it's a great dress rehearsal for the Kentucky Derby. All the hoopla that goes on there, saddling in the infield, or at least riders getting up in the infield. To me, it's a great dress rehearsal. And I like, Matt, when you see horses win early Derby preps, the ones that take that blanket of flowers over their shoulders well, I think that bodes well for them for maybe wearing roses come first Saturday of May.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of horses here that have taken to the blanket of flowers, and a couple of them that have been a little bit stirred up. I remember Timberlake, the first year I was here, he did not like that blanket on him when he won the Rebel. But, as you said, the crowd here is electric. There's a large on-track crowd. It'll be the third highest American horse racetrack attendance day out of anywhere in the country, behind Kentucky Derby Day and behind Kentucky Oaks. So as you said, wow, horses really get that feel. If they run in the Kentucky Derby, they get a little bit of a sample of the large, loud crowds that we have here in Arkansas, and that'll transfer over to Kentucky. Richie, we got a lot to go over this week, but first we're going to dive into two performances last week that you saw, of course, here with America's Day at the Races alongside of your partner, Megan Burgess. Let's talk about last week's two stakes races. We'll start with the La Paturelle overnight for filly and mare routers. Penwar got an 83 buyer for this. Let's take a look at this replay stretch run here. The Dig Diamond Stakes could be her next start after this easy win here. Richie, she did this so comfortably, was clearly superior.
She honestly looked like a winner every step of the way. Jumped out clean, got her position going forward, was running up into the rider's hands so beautifully. And then she just drew away at will. This was her kind of trip, though. And she kind of a relentless galloper. She wants to be involved.
She hasn't won a graded stakes yet, but the way she ran, she could take that step forward to try it. But again, the Dig a Diamond is a possible spot for her. She'll run against tougher company next time. This was a restricted overnight stake for runners that had not won a sweepstakes. But Penwar doing it the right way under Christian Torres for Rudy Brisset, who has Bricklin later on this week in the Arkansas Derby. Our big race on Saturday was the Grade 3 Essex, headlined by a pretty cool horse, Skippylongstocking, for the Saffie Joseph Jr. barn. He got a 101 buyer for this win here. The Ali Sheba, Grade 2 on Kentucky Oaks Day, could be next for him, according to Mr. Joseph. And Skippylongstocking, he was in the paddock, Richie, and he was touting himself in there, and he ran like it on the track. He was on the muscle in the paddock, keen to go, and he just shot away from him.
But he was right on that line, right, of almost bubbling over, but containing himself. And I'm full agreement with you. He totally touted himself. What a credit to Saffie Joseph to have a 7-year-old look as good as Skippylongstocking looks, and it was a tour de force.
Yeah, he was much superior for that group, but the way he ran, which was great to see, he's back in good form, because before the Pegasus, he had run a couple of poor races. Gave him some time, has come back, and he's back in better form than ever, I think.
Yeah, at 7 years old. Again, credit to the horsemanship of Saffie Joseph to have him that good. And he's just a cool horse. I mean, I like horses the way I like my people, honest and hardworking. He just shows up and does his job.
$37,000 sale purchase has made over $5.5 million for Mr. Daniel Alonso, who is on track for his very proud horse, Skippylongstocking, winning the Essex at Grade 3 here at Oaklawn. Well, we've got this week, of course, a lot of stakes action, a lot of good quality races in general this week. So we'll go to Thursday through Saturday racing, 9 races on Thursday. First post will be at 12:30. Our feature race is race number 8, the $200,000 Hot Springs Stakes for 3-year-olds at a mile. Yeah, you don't get an Arkansas Derby field here, but you get a very strong field every year. And we're going to have a few scratches in this race, as you can see on the graphic here. Lincoln's Law is very likely to scratch number 2. He has an engagement in Florida on Friday and a first-level allowance there. He's likely to run in there. Bricklin is entered in the Arkansas Derby. It has been confirmed he will race in there, so he will be scratched. And also Strategic Risk per Robert Yates of Oaklawn's Publicity. He came up with a little bit of a sore ankle, so he is going to scratch as well. So we're down to a field of 4 now, Richie, but it's a very strong field. And the 6-5 morning line favorite in this race for the Bob Baffert barn is Desert Gate, a horse that was very highly thought of as a 2-year-old. Let's take a look at his last replay, where he ran 4th in the Robert Lewis here. He hasn't won since the Grade 3 Best Pal at Del Mar. He was coming off a little bit of a layoff here, so in that respect, maybe he needed a race. At the same time, Bob Baffert is one who very much keys his horses up, ready to go off of layoffs. They're always fit when they're on the track. So he's been a little bit of a disappointment since the Best Pal. But we're going to look at a recent workout here after this replay, and he looked really good in this work, Richie, adding blinkers. I think he's getting those blinkers today. He's the horse to beat in here.
Yeah, no doubt, particularly from the inside post, going a mile at at Oaklawn Park. Inside position, so important. You don't want to be caught wide turns, something that affected Soldier and Diplomat, who's drawn outside again, but a smaller field this time. And you get Flavien Prat, and Flavien Prat is so good at being aggressive when the situation warrants it. I would imagine with the blinkers on, the inside post, that sharp work, he is going to be a part of the pace.
I would think so, and his best asset when he was a younger horse winning the Best Pal, breaking his maiden, was his speed. He was actually a low odds favorite in the Del Mar Futurity and lost that day to a stablemate, but he's a good horse. He's coming here looking to get that confidence booster. Obviously, at the moment, he's off the Derby trail, but you could still be an effective horse. And one thing, Richie, in America, we got a lot of good dirt races in the second half of the year for these 3-year-olds.
Well, a lot of good dirt races the second half of the year, and as well as even a race like the Preakness. You never know if a horse is impressive here. That could be the next objective.
Soldier and Diplomat, he's one that I don't think will be a Preakness candidate. Seems like cutting back in distance is what the doctor is ordering here, and I think it'll be a good order for him. The first thing we're going to take a look at here, Richie, is his first turn run. He was drawing post 10. You don't see this very often. Horses just lining up. He was caught in no man's land. Had to drop to the back of the pack, a horse with tactical speed. He just sort of lost all chance here in the Rebel.
I mean, he was just so wide. I mean, how much ground do you think he lost? He was beaten 13.5 lengths in the Rebel. He was at least cost
7 wide in the
6-7 lengths in the first turn, because it took him almost half the first turn to find his way a little bit towards the inside, and even then he never was better than 3-4 wide. And
you're going to see here his Southwest replay where he ran much better. He drew post, I think he was in the 12 hole. He drew post 13 this day, and he was wide both turns. Still ran second. Good horse. Good effort from him in the Southwest. Good news for him with only 4 horses in here. He's going to get a good trip in this race.
Yeah, he shouldn't be caught 6-7 wide like he was in the Rebel. He gets Irad Ortiz. Jose Ortiz obviously be out of town to ride Magnetize in the Dubai World Cup. I think they'd be better off allowing this horse to use his speed more. I feel like they were trying to experiment, see if he could stay further distances, get him to relax more. I think he wants to use his stride more.
I think we're going to see him get a good trip, an improved race, as opposed to his last race in the Rebel. Mark Casse is a very nice allowance caliber horse named Top Level, who was an unlucky loser to Exosum last time. Exosum's running in the Arkansas Derby. So Top Level, he's finding a tougher field here than what he saw last time out. But I think he was best in that allowance race, having to steady into the first turn and still almost won the race. And Race Ready, who's a recent maiden winner, really showed a nice kick there in a maiden optional 75 race. That said, first start against winners, going to be a tough task for him, for Norm Casse. He rounds out the field of 4, but even if he's not quite good enough to win this race, he's going to pick up a check, even if he runs 4.
Yeah, no doubt, and a substantial check at that. I think if you're riding either Top Level or race ready. You hoping that the 1 Desert Gate and the 7 Soldier and Diplomat get involved.
Right.
And you're almost going to ride the race to try to be third, beat the other horse, right, that out of the 4-horse field. And then sometimes you get lucky, and those horses kind of eliminate each other, and you put yourself in a position to take advantage.
If you're at the 8th pole and you know you're not finishing in the top 2, you're riding for third. If you're creeping in on them and you got some horse around the far turn as a rider, you're saying, okay, I got a little bit of a shot here.
Yeah, take my time. Don't get in too much of a hurry. Don't panic. And sometimes, the horses make mistakes, and you're in a position to take advantage of them.
That's race number 8, the Hot Springs Stakes for 3-year-olds. A small but very strong contingent in the Hot Springs of 2026. To kick off Arkansas Derby week is our feature on Thursday. Friday afternoon, it starts a couple of long days. I love long days, don't get me wrong. I don't say that negatively whatsoever. It's Fantasy Stakes Day on Friday. First post will be regular at 12:30. 12 races on the program, including 2 stakes races, both for fillies and mares in this case in race number 9. Let's take a look at this field here, the $250,000 Matron, which is our big filly and mare sprint stake every year at 6 furlongs here. Richie, when I look at this field, I think it came up very, very strong here. And leading the contingent of top contenders in this race is none other than last year's Matron winner, Holland Ice, an Arkansas bred. She is as good of an Arkansas bred as I think the state has ever seen. In the barn of Saffie Joseph Jr., started her career with Lindsey Schultz here at Oaklawn, was privately purchased a couple of races into her career by the Joseph team, and this filly has just thrived, especially when she visits Hot Springs, Arkansas. 7 wins and 2 seconds from 9 starts over the local strip. We're going to take a look at her most recent race here in the Down the Dusty Road Stakes. This was an 11-length win, 98 buyers she earned for this. Now, she got an easy lead, Richie, and she beat inferior company, but she was just so fast in this race. She just was clicking off fast times so effortlessly. That's what got me.
Yeah, I mean, she got very comfortable on the lead. Now you can say, well, she got everything her own way. She created that. She created her own trip.
Right.
I mean, she is just a remarkable mare. 11 for 20 lifetime, the first Arkansas bred to ever earn $1 million. And her versatility makes her doubly tough. She has natural speed. But if anybody else wants to go too fast, she's very efficient being just off the pace as well. Must be a lot of fun. Watching Francisco Arrieta ride her last time, she has to be so much fun to ride because she just does things so easily.
I'm sure it's like driving a luxury vehicle in that sense. You sort of press the gas and responds pretty easily.
Certainly as a rider, you're going to ride plenty of Volkswagens, and every now and then you're going to have a Porsche underneath you. She's certainly a sports car.
Well, one who is going to have to improve to beat Holland Ice, but I do think is worth noting is Jersey Pearl number 7 for Darren Miller, who trains in Kentucky as a small string, but he's done a good job with this mare, coming off a win in the Poinsettia. Here's the replay for that. It was on December 21st, this race, got an 89 buyer. She's only worked 4 times since then, freshens up a little bit for this run here, but at least she showed that she likes the track, Richie.
Yeah, 1 for 1 here at Oaklawn now, 5.5 furlongs. She's quick enough to put herself in the game. Got that really good Charles Fipke pedigree, right? All those, Jersey girl horses, Jersey Town, and but Jersey Pearl, well drawn outside as well, towards the outside. Should get a good trip with her natural speed, but I think they all got to take a little bit of a step up, don't they?
I think they do, if Holland Ice especially comes with her A game. And there are more challengers here, and Holland Ice will have to come with her A game nonetheless. And Esternia, she's one number 4 who I think she's never really flashy, Richie. As we take a look at her last race here, she was much best in this race. As we take a look, was the runner-up in the American Beauty Stakes, couple starts back. She most recently won this race, a ratings handicap. She's not flashy, but she tries, and she's always around.
And another one that creates her own trip because of her natural speed. I mean, she was second to Majestic Oops, who came back to beat last year's 3-year-old filly champion Nitrogen, right? So, I mean, obviously that was a quality-laden race in the American Beauty. Should be well placed forward from the start. And another one that's shown an affinity for Oaklawn Park with 3 wins, 3 seconds from 8 tries.
And another stakes performer here at Oaklawn draws outside Foie Gras for Mike Maker. Last year, I liked her. She had a little bit tough time finding the winner's circle. Since moving to the Mike Maker barn, 2 starts ago. She has been terrific. She won the Oaklawn Anywhere and the Bueller Overnight Stakes so far at this meeting, so she's a 2-time stakes winner. Here's the replay of her last race. She's a little more flashy than a runner like Jersey Pro and Esternia, given she has faced a little bit easier company than those two. But I think Foie Gras, we've talked about it before on the show, Richie, here, when a filly and mare especially is getting good, they really start getting good, and she looks like she sort of fits that bill.
And she also has probably the right style for this race. You know,
Right.
you get Flavien Prat back, who got familiarized with her. You know, he'd ridden her before, but won on her last time. And I think there's a lot of speed signed on here.
I agree.
And she has the ability to close. The outside post allows her to kind of find her rhythm and give Flavien some options where he wants to drop in. Now, Foie Gras might be an acquired taste, not for me personally, the food,
Yeah.
but obviously Foie Gras is very good. Another horse that I think is worth mentioning is the 3 Zeitlos.
She's one of the class horses.
One of the class horses is coming off of a layoff, but she may also have the right style for a race that I think is going to get very heated up on the front end.
I agree 100% with that. She ran 4th actually in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. Now she was well beaten in a strung outfield, but she won the Carousel Stakes here a couple of years ago in 2024. So she's one, like some of these in here, that has shown an affinity for the Oaklawn Dirt. So overall, a very good addition of the matron. But as you alliterated to, Hall and Ice, she's the one to beat. She's got the target on her back.
She's the one to beat, and again, she's versatile. She's not forced into the race early, but she will be forward just because of her natural speed.
We go to race number 11. That's our feature on the card. Most race cards, this would be our feature, Richie.
Yes,
That's how
yeah.
strong of a field the matron is. But the 11th race, of course, is the big one on Friday. The Grade 2 $1 million fantasy for 3-year-old fillies. 100 Kentucky Oaks points to the winner and many other points to the underneath placers. Here's the field of 6 in here, Richie. We're going to go through the whole field here. First look, I know Explorer is the low odds favorite, but I think it's a little more competitive than maybe that odds on the morning line indicate, Richard.
I would agree with you. Listen, Explorer is another one. Makes her own trip. She's going to be forward. Flavien Prat back in the saddle. But I thought her win in the Honeybee was good, but very workmanlike. It wasn't dazzling. It wasn't, to me, it wouldn't scare me off if I had a filly that I was thinking about taking a shot here.
We'll talk about her in a little bit. We're going to go in post-position order here, and we're going to start with Search Party, number 1. She won the Martha Washington Stakes 2 starts ago and ran a decent enough 4th last time out in the Honeybee, so she needs to turn the tables on a couple of others in here. Let's take a look at her Martha Washington Stakes win. You know, she showed a new dimension this day coming from off the speed. She usually was showing speed in her maiden races, so we know she's versatile, and that's going to help her in a smaller field like this.
Yeah, no doubt, and especially from the inside post. Christian Torres, who I think has just been riding in career form, always a good rider, feels like he's taking his game to another level. You can just see a rider's confidence brimming here. I think she's going to get a beautiful spot right in behind the speed. She hasn't run a bad race. It does feel like maybe she needs to take another little step forward, but she's a 3-year-old filly at this time of year. Why can't she take another step forward?
One of 3 runners for trainer Mark Casse, so he campaigns half the field. And number 2, Empath is the next one here, 21 on the morning line. A peculiar entrant in a sense that not only did she just break her maiden a couple weeks ago sprinting, but she was supplemented into this race. And according to sources from around Mark Casse, who has told folks that the reason we're entering her is to ensure an honest pace. So a little bit of a rabbit play here with Empath.
Well, and I think it's smart. He's got 2 fillies in Search Party and Counting Stars that are going to be coming from just off the pace. You wouldn't want a horse like Explorer to get loose on the lead, get so comfortable and compromise your other entrants. It's just tactics, and it's something that's been done for as long as racing has taken place. In Europe, you see they'll employ multiple pacemakers or rabbits, if you will.
Yeah, so Empath, expecting her to be up on the pace here, coming out of those sprint races to ensure a decent tempo here for possibly Search Party and also the 3rd Mark Casse trio here, Counting Stars number 3. So the good news is when the gates open, Mark Casse doesn't have to look in different directions. He just has to look at 3 inside horses here. Counting Stars is my pick in the Honeybee. She was very impressive winning the Year's End Stakes 3 starts ago, and then she just did not run a step in the Martha Washington. And she has shown that a couple of times now in her career. There was a race at Keeneland after she broke her mane where she just didn't decide to run. It must be a mental thing. But Mark Casse said after that no-show, I really liked the way she worked heading into the Honeybee. We're running her. Let's take a look at her runner-up finish. She's in the West Point Gold here. Back to good form. Obviously, she needs to turn the tables on Explorer, but I thought this was a really encouraging effort, hard-trying effort from her.
No, I agree. You know, but the problem is when she shows up, she's very good.
Right.
When she doesn't show up, she gives you nothing whatsoever, right? So it's all, or it's feast or famine.
Sure.
But I like the way she has trained since she came back with a nice, maintenance half mile, but the right way, right? Jumping into the bridle, doing it properly. So that kind of leads me to believe she's coming into the Fantasy just as good as she went into the Honeybee, where there was some interruption in her training into the Martha Washington. So maybe she's a filly that needs that real kind of tightening of the screws, if you will.
Taken by the Wind is number 4. She absolutely throwing a no-show in the Honeybee Stakes, second off a layoff. And Kenny McPeak noting that after the race, per our notes team here, she had a case of the thumps when she came back to the barn. So that in itself is reason to believe that last race she had a legit excuse. She came off a win in the Silver Bullet Day, was very impressive winning the Pocahontas, a grade 3 at Churchill as a 2-year-old. She showed versatility in that Pocahontas win, which is good for her. I'm thinking she's going to come back and run a lot better than she did last time out. She will need to be competitive, obviously, but she's not one that's without a chance here at a price now with that poor effort.
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, if you put a line through her last race and she was coming in with just those 3 first efforts, she would be potentially your favorite here. But you brought up the thumps, so obviously an electrolyte imbalance, so she wasn't 100%. I'm sure they've addressed all that. And you'll see a better version of Taken by the Wind. Taken by the Wind.
She likes to be fairly close, but does not need the lead for Kenny McPeak, who, of course, 2 years ago won the Fantasy off a layoff, no less, with Torpedo Anna. The 5-horse Sticker Shock for a trainer that always has good 3-year-old fillies all around the country, the last few years especially, Brad Cox. Here's a win here off a layoff. She broke her maiden 2 starts ago at Churchill, took some time off, came back and won this allowance race. I love this win. I know she finds tougher here, but she was coming off the break and she showed a lot of grittiness down the lane to hold off Scott's Law. It was a stakes place filly. She's also a big filly, Sticker Shock. If you look at that size difference between the two horses, she's inside. I think she can improve second off the break here, and I saw her last workout on March 20th. She looked spectacular.
Yeah, I'm really taken with the way she's trained since that allowance win in February. She worked with Robbie Alvarado aboard. Love what I saw from her. She's got that Uncle Mo stride. You can always tell the Uncle Mo's. They kind of reached out and down for ground, really elongated stride. She's going to be my top selection. I think she's going to get an absolutely beautiful trip. I think Empath goes to the lead. Explorer will be the closest pursuer, and she'll be the one laying third to get first run.
Irad Ortiz riding for the first time, and I know Christian Torres, he worked Sticker Shock last time out because he did ride her last time and he was helping out Brad Cox there because obviously Irad isn't in town right now, and I know he was very happy.
That's right, I got it
as
confused
well.
with Robbie working the other horse for the Arkansas Derby.
Blackout time.
Yeah, Blackout time. No, Sticker Shock, yes. But I really loved the way she looked training.
I did too, and I think she's going to be a force here. Explorer number 6, even money on the morning line. As you mentioned, very workmanlike in her last race, the Honeybee, as you saw in that replay with Counting Stars running second. Nonetheless, with that in mind, you can't knock her. 4 wins, 3 seconds, 7 starts. I mean, she shows up every time. She shipped here, ran that race. Then she's shipping back to California. Now she has to ship here again. Is that a little bit of a concern?
For me, it is. I mean, listen, Bob Baffert obviously so good at what his horses need, shipping them in and out, and he goes all over the world and wins races. I think it could be a negative. I also think that she couldn't have gotten a nicer trip. And if you were to look at the trip Counting Stars got compared to the trip she got, I would lean towards Counting Stars if I was going between those two. Obviously, I'm picking Sticker Shock, but Explorer, honest, got to respect her. Think she could be vulnerable.
Good minds think alike because I'm picking Sticker Shock as well. I think she's going in the right direction. She's got a good pilot aboard, obviously, in Irad, who will be here all week, and I think that she's very much primed to run well. Seems like that allowance race, even though Brad Cox really hasn't cranked up off of layoff, similar to a Bob Baffert type of trainer, I feel like he's going a little more old school here. Get her set up in that allowance, and then come here and really have her cranked up to go.
Yeah, doing things incrementally, right? Building to the better efforts.
We are going to reset, and we will be talking about the Arkansas Derby Day card, the major races on that program. We're back to talk about the big races on Arkansas Derby Day. That's on Saturday, the big day, not only this week, but of course all meet long. Early first post, 11:35 a.m. The gates open at 10 a.m. This is going to be a really fun day. 14 races on the program, 4 stakes races on the card. We're going to talk about 3 of them, and we're going to go to race number 9, which begins that $1 Class 6 bet, the Pick 6 sequence that we brought back this year to Oaklawn. Here's the field for the American Pharoah Overnight Stakes, which last year was a very good race on Arkansas Derby Day, and no exception to the rule here with this field of 8. Classic Car Wash, the morning line favorite 2-1, comes off a neck loss to Super Cruise in first division, both stakes placed horses. He is the morning line favorite for Mark Cassie, who's had an outstanding meeting here. But I want to talk about Publisher, Richie.
Yep.
The Steve Asmussen trainee, who really has become a fan favorite in a way, because this horse, very admirable. They campaigned him very aggressively last year, running him in the Arkansas Derby as a maiden. He ran second that day. He competed in the Kentucky Derby. It took until February of this year to break his maiden, and he did so in fine fashion. And then he came back first start against winners. Here's the replay on that. He just has so much raw ability, Richie, I think. It was almost like he got the lead here. He was waiting on horses a little bit, and then once he saw the other horse, he took off again.
You know, it's interesting. When he broke his maiden and he drew off to win by nearly 6 lengths, I thought he finally has figured the game out from a mental standpoint.
Yeah.
Then he comes back in the allowance race, and he hit the front, and I don't know if he was just waiting. I think he pulled himself up
I agree.
completely.
Right.
And now he feels a challenge. And for a 1,000-pound animal to pull up, lose all their momentum, and then re-engage and jump in and find that stride again, this horse has so much ability. And it feels like Eric Asmussen, who's been riding in just tremendous form. I mean, I've really watched his evolution as a rider. I feel like he knows this horse, and I think that we're going to see a better performance out of Publisher. I think they've got to be mindful, though, that when he hits the front, he thinks his job is over.
Right, and he's the type of horse that needs to stay engaged. But when he does, like you said, he's got an uber amount of ability. A lot of horses can't run like this as hard as they try. And this horse, he doesn't even need to try to be around at the wire every time. So a very nice horse.
Yeah, I'm taken with him. He will be my top selection in the American Pharoah. I just, he's a horse that I've been a fan of. I'm much like everybody else, probably, having the opportunity to follow along with his career. Here he was, second in the Arkansas Derby last year, tried the Kentucky Derby as a maiden. Feels like this year, maybe a little more continuity in his campaign.
Yeah, Publisher, he is one that with 2 wins back-to-back, I think this is a great spot for him as well, the American Pharoah Overnight, to throw him back in the stakes ranks without getting too ambitious here. So he is going to be a major force of the American Pharoah Overnight. That's race number 9 on the program, $135,000 stake at a mile and a 16th. Couple races later, we're going to go to race number 11. This is a fun one, Richie. It is the Oaklawn Mile, grade 3, $500,000. We take a look at the field here. Boy, this is a good group of 8 in here, and the morning line favorite in this race is Full Serrano, who is a Breeders' Cup winner himself. He won the Dirt Mile in 2024 at Del Mar. I love that they're getting him back to a mile, 6 for 10 lifetime with 3 in the money finishes as well, along from 10 starts going 8 furlongs. So 6 of his 7 lifetime wins have come at a mile. Here's the replay of his Pegasus going a mile and an 1/8, of course, won by none other than Skippylongstocking, our Essex winner last week. I just think the cut back to a mile is going to be perfect for this horse. He likes to be close, and there's some speed in here, though.
Yeah, but he should create his own trip. I mean, if you go back to his Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile under Joel Rosario that day, he was right on top of a 45 2/2 mile, going 2 turns. I understand it's, Del Mar, they're going to go a little quicker there, but that's still a very fast pace. So I don't see them trying to reinvent the wheel with Full Serrano. I think they're going to allow him to lay up close. Maybe he doesn't make the lead, but he'll be involved.
Antonio Fresu riding for trainer John Sadler, my old boss, by the way. I was a hot walker for John, for 4 summers at Del Mar.
Wow, that's really cool. John, I've been on the Hall of Fame ballot now a few times.
And I hope he gets in one day.
He deserves to be in, and hopefully sooner than later.
John Sadler, really a full circle moment. That's sort of Nancy Holthus and I's it's sort of a message that we've sent that in horse racing, it's a small world and there's all these full circle moments. So getting to call one of John's top horses is going to be pretty cool for me. But let's talk about What's New, number 7 here at Richie in this race. Now, this horse broke his maiden for fun, got a triple-digit buyer, and you almost scratch your head and say, can he do this again? And he did in an allowance race. And then they put him up against the big boys in the Razorback, going up against Magnitude, who we're going to see in the Dubai World Cup this weekend overseas in Dubai. And I thought, even though he didn't win the race, I thought this second place finish, one word to describe it, admirable.
Oh, I think that's a perfect word to describe it. And, you know, obviously against, you know, maidens, allowance horses, you could say, well, maybe he just dominated them.
Right.
This, to me, speaks more of the quality that he showed.
Yeah.
To face real rivals, and particularly a horse like Magnitude, who will be have run already in the Dubai World Cup by that point. And so we'll have a little bit of a barometer of how well that race stacks up with it, right?
Right. And we'll see that in the morning before the Arkansas Derby, and they'll be running that at night over in Dubai with Jose Ortiz. So we'll see if his form can be flattered, if Magnitude can run well in the Dubai World Cup. But What's New, cutting back in a mile, it's going to be just fine for him. I'm imagining he's going to be close to the pace because he has been in all 3 big efforts.
Yeah, and they don't even ask him to be in the race. He just puts them in the race. He's got that natural kind of speed. You know, one of the things that for me when I was riding, I had principles of riding. One of them was saving ground was important. Getting your position going forward was important. Never take anything away that comes easy to a horse. Don't inhibit their natural gait. Let them use their stride.
Right. Have them their best asset out on the track. Let them use it. Do not fight them.
Yeah.
So
you know, they're going to use their energy in a less efficient manner if you're meddling with their actual stride. Let them get in a rhythm.
We talk about riding too, and I do want to mention the ride that Ricardo Santana gave on Will Take It, number 1, last time out in the 5th season. I thought this was a great ride by Ricardo, saving ground on the far turn, waiting for a seam, got it. It was a pretty tight hole, and he said, we're going through, and credit to the horse, he did it. This is a tougher group here, Richie, but this was a very good ride, and he does like this flat mile. He's 3 for 7 going a mile.
Gets the inside post. He's going to save ground. And obviously he's shown he's brave already, so it's not like he's going to have to extricate himself from that. He's going to be able to sit in there, see how it plays out. Dallas Stewart, his conditioner, so good at getting horses primed for a particular day.
Yeah, and he has had a very good meet here since being a much larger presence than we've seen from him in the past few years. Getting horses here, good dirt horses, and getting them to win. Finally, East Avenue, just to touch on him, he won the Grade 3 Matt win for Brendan Walsh. He's been a bit of a peculiar item in the racing game because they've thought so much of him, but he's been very inconsistent. He's been working very quickly off of this layoff here. And I always feel, Richie, like horses that are inconsistent like this, sometimes off of layoffs they run well if they're training well because they're so ready to get back to racing action.
I think a lot of the inconsistency has to do with more their mental capacity to handle racing. So being fresh, more likely they're going to run their A race, and he's obviously training with enthusiasm. Back-to-back bullet drills, fastest at the distances at first for a half mile out of the gate, and then 5 furlongs. So he's training with enthusiasm. You got to like that. And how deep this field is, we haven't even brought up Cole Battle, who, you know, last year's Rebel and Smarty Jones winner right here at Oaklawn Park.
Cole Battle, of course, a fan favorite. Lonnie Briley did a terrific job with him, a good trainer, based in Louisiana. He's got a string here the last couple of years. We saw him win a race last week. And Cole Battle off this layoff. It will be a tough task for him, Richie, to win this race off the layoff. And he has run good races against restricted 3-year-olds. Now he's facing older horses, but a cool horse. He's sort of the little engine that could. Small frame, big heart.
I love him. Yeah, I'm a guy who roots for the underdogs, and to me, he always kind of fit that underdog bill. Lonnie Briley, a horseman that everybody in the industry knew for years what a great horseman he was. It took a horse like this to kind of put him out in front and center. That's
the Oaklawn Mile, $500,000 Grade 3 event. Really good race. And now we get to the big one, race number 13. It's the $1.5 million Arkansas Derby, 100 Kentucky Derby points to the winner, 100 additional points given out to underneath placers. Here's the the field. Field of 9 will be reduced to a field of 8. Number 7, Napoleon Solo, will scratch in favor of the Wood Memorial next week. We'll go through the whole field right here, Richie Migliore and I, and we will start with Redland Rebels. For Patrick Biancone, an interesting entry here off a 4th place finish in the Tampa Bay Derby to the Puma, who is a major contender on Saturday in Florida in the Florida Derby. Of course, Gulfstream having a big day just like us on Saturday afternoon. Let's take a look at a recent work that he produced at Palm Meadows for Patrick Biancone. He's on the outside here, looked decent enough here. Has done his best work on the turf, but his dirt speed figure last time out indicates that maybe he can do just as well on the dirt. A son of Uncle Chuck, who was a dirt horse himself. And Redland Rebels, in a race where there's not an abundance of pace, he's going to be up there, Richie.
Again, from that inside post, there's always kind of a intention with riders, and when you're drawn inside, it makes the intention clearer. I've got to go forward to make sure I preserve my position or even make the lead. Keith Asmussen, coming off an injury, feel like he's found his form. He's riding extremely well. And Patrick Biancone, I don't think he's shipping here just because he wants to go, enjoy the town. He's coming here with a reason. This horse is going to be forward. I think he's a little bit interesting.
I think if this horse wins, there's a 1 in 9 chance that our friend Andy Biancone might have some tears in her eyes because her fiance Keith Asmussen riding for her father Patrick. So that would be
cool.
Quite the story if he were to be able to pull this off. The 2-horse Silent Tactic, boy, Mark Cassey has really gotten this horse going good. $500,000 sale purchase by Tacitus. They bought this horse for 100 times the stud fee, and he has given them that money back and some. Let's take a look at his run in the Rebel Stakes. He won the Southwest from off the pace with a decent pace to run into. Last time out he was closer, even though he had a head in front and then ended up losing to a very game class president. He just showed here, I thought, that he's right up there with the big boys in this division. I thought this was a very good effort.
I think my takeaway from this was that he belongs. He's for real. He belongs in that upper echelon of 3-year-olds. In the Rebel, and through no fault of Christian Torres, who I think is riding in superb form, he kind of had to start moving with him a little earlier to secure position. There was a gap in front of him going to the far turn, and those gaps don't stay there forever.
Right.
And you have to make a choice. Do I go forward, secure that spot, or do I take a chance of it kind of shutting down, and then I've got to find my way through? Right. So he put his horse up into the race at that point, but that made him make a long, sustained run. And I think that's why he flattened out just a touch late, and not to take anything away from Class President, who is very game. I think, though, it bodes well for Silent Tactic. The Derby's usually won by a horse that can make a long, sustained run, or 2 distinct kind of runs, unless they're just a speed, freaky type of horse. I think Silent Tactic's for real. I love his durability. I love that this is his 4th start of the year. He is going to be my top selection in the Arkansas Derby, and as of right now, he is my Derby horse. Now, that's subject to change, but I'm a believer in Silent Tactic. He
can run all day. He's going to get a pace in the Kentucky Derby. And I spoke to Christian about this horse after the race. And that track in the Rebel, it was playing a little more towards speed. And one thing they talked about on the paddock before the race, maybe we need to put him a little bit closer with that track profile in mind, which they did. Still a very good effort. Silent Tactic, he's 5-2 on the morning line. Obviously a nice horse. And as we talked about, distance will be his friend. The 3 horses, Blackout Time. He ran 4th in the Rebel off a layoff. This horse was last seen before then, running 2nd to 2-year-old champion last year, Ted Naffey in the Breeders' Futurity. This horse, to me, Richie, looked like a horse that on the far turn, it looked like he had run, and then he flattened out. That tells me he might have needed the race there. That tells me this horse can run, but maybe the fitness caught up to him a little bit late in that race.
He ran like a horse that was in need of a race. He was a little bit keen early, just being fresh off the layoff. A lot of horses will have that nervous energy. They kind of need to expel a little bit. You get Kenny McPeak, Brian Hernandez. They know how to win a Kentucky Derby. Mystic Dan. I mean, so you get the band back together. And this horse trained extremely well. I actually confused him earlier. This is the one that Robbie Alvarado was aboard last Saturday morning, and I thought it was a perfect workout heading into this.
Blackout Time, 6-1 on the morning line, and if you get that price, I think it's a very fair for a horse they've always thought a lot of. We go to the 4-horse Bricklin. This horse here 2 starts ago, he won an allowance race, got everything his own way on the lead here at Oaklawn, but did it the right way. Then came back and had a wide trip in the Sunland Derby. Was parked wide on both turns, faded a little bit late, but I like that Pavlovian, who won that race, came back to almost win the Louisiana Derby. He's about this close to it. This horse could be a pace presence in here, 20-1 morning line.
Yeah, I think he's another one that's going to be forward. You get Jamie Torres this time, as Christian Torres is riding Silent Tactic. Should be sitting a good trip. I think you and I probably both see it a little bit similar. Like, inside horses got to go, and then you got some horses on the outside need to get over.
Right.
But he should be forward.
Bricklin, number 4. We go to number 5, Taptastic. Steve Asmussen, he likes to come play ball in the big events, and he's got one here. This horse, boy, if he were to win, that'll tell you something of how good he is, because first time out, this horse ran at a mile. He was facing older foes that day on March 8th. Here's the replay of that, and he won, and he was bet hard, 4-5, after a 111-1 gate work for trainer Steve Asmussen, and he doesn't work them like that usually, Richie. So I think he knows this horse is good, wanted him to win first out with those aggressive moves in mind, but I love the gameness that he showed. He did not have a great trip inside of horses, and sort of like Will Taken in the 5th season, he found a seam on the rail and he went right through.
Yeah, this is the kind of race where a horse gets so much experience out of. You could work a horse another 10, 12 times and not get out of what you would have raced like this for Taptastic. And the fact that you brought it up, Steve's not a trainer who breezes his horses fast. So when you see a really fast work like that 111 out of the gate, that's because the horse did it the right way.
Right.
They wanted to do it. They weren't being asked to do that. Still a tall order, big ass, win the Arkansas Derby in your second start, but he's a horse with a lot of ability, and he's already beaten older horses, albeit maidens.
Right.
But for a 3-year-old to beat older horses March of their 3-year-old year, that usually speaks about quality.
And they finished at the first finish line. So I was able to watch the gallop out right in front of me like we all were. And this horse had the ears up and was getting farther away from his competition. So distance, adding another furlong, can only be, I think, beneficial to him. The question will be is this too much too soon?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big ask, but the rules have changed. Years ago when I was a much younger man, horse would not make it to the Derby without at least 3 or 4 preps.
Right.
Now that's actually a comprehensive campaign.
Right, and Renegade number 6 is the one to beat, and he's had a little bit of a campaign, and a tough campaign with his 5th lifetime start here. He actually broke his maiden 3 starts ago and was DQ'd out of that race, and he defeated a horse named Paladin, who came right back to win the Remsen, and this horse ran in the Remsen as a maiden still and was second best. Now, he comes off a win in the Sam F. Davis at Tampa Bay. So he actually broke his maiden last time out in a stake, and he came like a rocket and defeated the Puma that day, who came back to win the Tampa Bay Derby. We do not have the copyright rights to show the Sam Davis, but we can show the Remsen to you. So here's the race. He ran second. I think this horse, he likes to sit off early, Richie, but then earlier in his races down the backstretch, he can make a little bit of an early move, seems every race, to get in a good position in the far turn. I'm not concerned about if there's not that much pace in here. I think he's pretty versatile.
I agree with you. I think he's versatile. What I talked about, horses that can make long sustained runs or 2 distinct runs. He's one that can kind of creep into position, idle, and then make another move. In the Remsen, he moved early to try to keep Paladin blocked in.
Right.
And I completely understand the tactics by Irad Ortiz. Here I have an opportunity to maybe compromise the horse to beat. But in essence, it made him make a longer, more sustained run than you might want to, right. And you can understand why he might have flattened out a touch late. I don't think he lost anything in that race, and I think he and Paladin are extremely close in ability. The fact that Irad Ortiz stays put here, here's a rider with options.
Yes.
And that he's coming here to ride him, right? He could have rode Commandment, who he won the Fountain of Youth on. He has options. I like the fact that he's staying put here. And people might say, well, it's Todd Pletcher. He rides for Todd Pletcher. All bets are off with jockeys and trainers when it comes to the Kentucky Derby. All the riders are looking for their best chance to win the Derby, and trainers take it more. They understand it more in situations like this. So I think this is more of a choice by Irad, and it makes me believe he thinks this is his Derby horse.
Well, and Commandment won the Fountain of Youth for Brad Cox, who Irad rides a lot for.
A lot for.
So this is telling us, giving us a little bit of a hint of the cards that he's holding and what kind of hand he thinks he has here with Renegade.
Yep.
Not an easy decision to make, obviously. It's sort of, it would be agonizing if a horse like Commandment were to win the Florida Derby or even win the Kentucky Derby. But as a jockey, Richie, you got to make these tough decisions, and it's a good position to be in as a jockey. There are a lot of people that want to be in this position.
Well, there are a lot of riders that don't have options.
Right, exactly.
This is your option,
exactly.
And that's it.
Exactly.
The fact that he has multiple options, but again, it speaks to me of some confidence in this horse.
Go back to last week's Out of the Starting Gate on our YouTube page, of course, and you will find his last workout, which I thought was very good. Actually, his 2-back workout in which he had a big gallop out. We got to move along, though. Napoleon Solo, number 7, he's out. Number 8, Exosum, comes off an allowance win. Top level, we ran second. We're going to see him in the hot springs, but the numbers indicate he needs to improve, and he is facing a much tougher group.
Yeah, and it does definitely appear he has to improve. But people have to remember, these are young horses. This time of year in a young horse's life, much like kids starting high school, the best athlete starting high school, not necessarily the best athlete finishing high school.
Sure.
They're going to hit different levels of maturity at different times.
Sure.
He's going to have to take a big step forward, but we've seen it happen in the past.
Yes, we have. There have been a lot crazier things than seeing Exosum at 20-1 win the Arkansas Derby. We've seen a lot crazier results. And finally, number 9, litmus test. You know, I'm not a huge litmus test fan. I think he's a decent enough horse, but I thought he was overbet in the Rebel last time out. We'll take a look at that stretch run one more time. We saw it earlier, but he ran third here. Blinkers off. Bob Baffert indicating after the race, you know, I feel like this horse sort of wants to sit off and run on, which he hasn't really done that often, but I think they're going to try to get this horse to relax. I just think 2 starts ago in the Los Alamitos Futurity, Richie, he beat Blacksmith, who has come back to just not be that impressive. He didn't run well at all in the Louisiana Derby. Again, I thought he got overbet last time out. He's a play against for me, but Bob Baffert, he's won this race 8 times, so he's going to get bet every time he shows up to Hot Springs.
Well, I'm right alongside with you. Litmus test is not going to be. I wonder if he wants the mile and an eighth of the Arkansas Derby. You know, taking the blinkers off, obviously they're going to try to get him to settle a little bit more, but I just get a feeling he's a bit one-paced for me, and I want to see some acceleration, some turn of foot.
I don't see him being the type of really, really good Bob Baffert horse that we've seen here in the past. And interestingly, he stayed here. Usually Bob, we saw it with Explorer, win races here after they ship from California and they go right back to the string. He stayed here with trainer Dan Ward, and obviously Bob Baffert's still the trainer of record, but he has been looked upon by Dan Ward, so at least he doesn't have to ship back and forth.
Well, you're right. He avoids that arduous shipping back and forth, and he gets to train over the surface he's going to compete on. I think it makes a lot of sense to do it that way.
Really good running of the Arkansas Derby. That'll be race 13 on a 14-race card. Obviously, going to be a huge day for us. We've got one more point to talk about here, and that's clocker picks. And because it's Arkansas Derby, because it's such a big week, I usually have one a week. I've got 2 for you, and I missed one last week. So we're going to give you 2 clocker picks. We're going to start with race race 4 on Friday, an allowance at a mile. I'm going with number 6, Favorite Day, for trainer Kenny McPeak. He's the gray horse here on the outside. Richie, I really like this work. He's working with Kells, who we're going to see in race number 11 in a 2-turn maiden special weight on Saturday, Arkansas Derby Day. I love the way this horse opened up on Kells past the wire here. And there was a point where Kells had a head in front, and he came right back at him and galloped out with some energy.
Yeah, you want to see horses finish their works with their legs underneath them. You don't want to see their stride deteriorating. You don't see that here. He, if anything, picks it up even more as he's hitting the wire and continues on.
Yeah, Favorite Day. I think he's going to be ready to roll, the second choice on the morning line. And then we go to race number 14 on Saturday. So you got to wait till the last race of the week. Past 7 o'clock, you're going to have to wait for this guy to show up at the races. But I think he's a runner. He's an Arkansas bred. His name is Our Vacoma Ride. He's outside in this gate drill here. Here it is. Listen to this. I mean, a son of Vacoma out of a dam named Arquista, who was a stakes winner and won on debut sprinting. All 3 siblings to this horse were winners. 2 of them were sprinters. His sire, Vacoma, 21% with dirt sprinters, and the average percentage for a sire with dirt sprinters is 13%. That's the average win rate. 22% with first-time starters, Vacoma. The average percentage is 10%. So this stallion, I mean, you don't see numbers like this very often at all with stallions with firsters and dirt sprinters. I know you watch this work too, Richie. I think this horse is a beautiful-looking horse, and he is a big boy.
He's a big boy, solid throughout, looks fast. Just if you walked up on him and looked at him from a physical perspective, you go, man, I bet this guy has speed. And then in this work, he moved when the doors moved. Now that may sound like, well, they all do that. No. Some horses, the doors kick open, and it takes them that split second to kind of gather themselves and jump. He moved immediately when the doors moved. It speaks to the fact that he's going to have speed. You talk about Vacoma, the precocity in the pedigree. This horse looks like he's very focused and clued in to what his job is already, and he hasn't even started yet. that bodes well for him first time out.
Yeah, he's 10-1 on the morning line. If you watch this workout, I don't think we're going to get 10-1 here. And if you do, you better go to the windows and take a shot, because that might be the only time you get 10-1 on this horse.
Yeah, I think you'll get less, but I think 3 or 4 to 1 would be acceptable watching that work.
Yeah, Luis Saez, he's back in town. He's going to be aboard. So favorite day in race 4 on Friday, and then our Vekoma ride, race 14 on Saturday. That does it for our Arkansas Derby out of the starting gate episode here. Richie, thank you so much for taking your time this morning.
My pleasure.
With me. Always a pleasure having Richie here. He gives some great analysis, and you can listen to him and Megan Burgess on America's Day at the Races. Oaklawn always really happy and excited to team up with you guys to bring you great racing here from Hot Springs.
Make our job easy when they put on a product as good as Oaklawn does on a consistent daily basis.
Well, we hope you have fun this week. I know you're going to be very busy looking at the paper the next few days, as will I, but this is the type of week that we live for.
Oh, no doubt. You know, and I love the crescendo, like we build to this, and
Sure.
the excitement level. It already started in town. You can feel it.
Richie Migliore, my special guest. I'm Matt Dinerman here. Have a great Arkansas Derby week, everybody. Pick some winners, and then we'll see you next week for another edition of Out of the Starting Gate.